Welcome everyone to episode 2 of the Hotel Tech Unwrapped series brought to you by IMS. The purpose of this podcast series is to simplify hospitality technology for decision makers to allow them to generate a better return on their hospitality technology investment. My name is Denis Ahern. I have over 10 years experience in the hospitality technology space.
Thank you, Denis. My name is Helena O'Brien and I have over 16 years experience as a sales and marketing professional in the hospitality industry, and I'm with the tech industry for the last 3 years.
Very good. Thanks, Helena. So, Helena, we survived episode 1. They've allowed us on to do episode 2. So that's an amazing achievement. How did you feel when we were sending out the first episode last week?
To say I took myself out of my comfort zone to do that podcast would be an understatement. And I was never so nervous sharing anything in a public forum, whether it was on professional platforms or with friends and family, just for feedback. But we're back. We're back to do another one. It's exciting. How about you?
Yeah, no, it's funny. Yeah. So, you know, the way, like, if you were with a group of friends and you like drop a bombshell and just walk away, I felt like that when we were just about to send it out. I just went hiding behind the couch for a few hours, But look, the world didn't fall down. The feedback wasn't too bad. Lots of views and engagement, which is great. So yeah, listen, we're really excited about episode 2. So in episode 1, we covered an introduction to the hospitality technology space in general, the guest feedback around hospitality, and then how to maximize that guest feedback to generate the best financial return. So if anyone hasn't listened to episode 1, go back and listen after this episode. Today, we're going to cover the full scope of the hospitality technology ecosystem and then provide you with some guiding principles for decision making that allow you to generate better returns moving forward. So, Helena, you have a lot of experience in this area, so I want to enlighten our guests.
Yeah, it's funny, I touched on it before, where when I first started out in the hospitality industry, really all we had was a PMS, a property management system. And now if you look at the tech stack, the ecosystem within the hospitality sector, when it comes to technology, your PMS is still at the core of your business, right? Mm-hmm. But you now have customer relationship management, known as the CRM, your revenue management system, your RMS, your central reservation system, which is your CRS, and then you have multiple guest services options, right? But these are all headings. Ultimately, you have platforms that fall underneath each of these services, right? Mm-hmm. And I think when I look at each of these and see how technology is evolving, it's really important, today's podcast, to help hoteliers understand more why we're seeing technology evolving the way we are. And the first area I'd really like us to cover today, and your insight will be really valuable in this, is the importance of cloud-based systems and why hoteliers are now seeing that they have to move from the previous, even an example, PMS, why they have to move from their existing PMS to a cloud-based system. So if you can help shine some light on that, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, cloud-based is the future in this space, cloud-based with open API. Couple of reasons. So first of all, if you're in a hotel and you're running these applications, if it's in the cloud, you're just running on a light application on your desktop or you're running it in a browser. That means you don't need infrastructure on site, servers, etc. And then you don't introduce single points of failure either on site, right? So cloud, from that perspective, is a good way to go. Mm-hmm. Also, you just have data security built in from the start. You've got central providers who are managing and securing data much better than you can as an individual operator with your own server, again, in your property. And then, being in the cloud makes it much more flexible to integration. So that open API piece, and the PMS, as you say, is at the center of everything. Many of the PMS providers have moved in that cloud direction. Some of them are extremely advanced in terms of the API piece, where they've created like a hub or a marketplace. Mm-hmm. And in that marketplace, you can see all of the other technology that's already integrated. And this is great visibility and insight for you as a customer. But that is where it's going, So we would encourage anyone investing in technology in hospitality to look for cloud-based and open API based applications.
I think I find it really interesting, the area of cloud-based technology, and I see it every single day in what we do and what our customers are asking us about. And like ultimately, if you look at that ecosystem, you're talking about your PMS, your revenue management, your operations, your sales and marketing, your distribution, and your guest technology, right? What that looks like in each property is very, very different. But if you're a hotel group, you would have your PMS, your CRM, your CRS, your RMS. And sorry, folks, for those who don't know what they are, I'll just repeat again: your customer relationship management system, your revenue management system, your central reservation system, and at the core, you have your property management system. Now, what I find very interesting is we have our cloud-based system. And you mentioned there a moment ago what API is. You might just explain to the audience what API stands for, because not everybody will know.
It's a standard acronym, so it stands for Application Programming Interface, and it provides a common framework for systems to basically speak to each other and transfer information securely. So you think about in IMS as a service provider, we build our systems in the cloud and use an open API framework so that it allows us to be flexible as a service provider. And that, that's the whole reason, is like there's so much going on in the tech stack. You're not going to deliver everything. No individual service provider is going to deliver everything. It's changing so quickly. So that's what allows then the flexibility.
So would if I'm a guest checking into a room and I see my name on a screen,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Is that an integration, an API with the PMS?
Yeah, so like some practical use cases, if you think about it from the guest perspective, definitely yes. In integrating your TV and your guest room entertainment system with the PMS is always really good for personalization. So what's happening there in the background is the guest checks in, the TV system is communicating with the PMS, sends across the data. So Helena O'Brien has booked. She's now checked in for room 100. That can update then the screen, welcome Miss O'Brien, and provide a much more personalized experience. And you can apply that principle across multiple areas of technology. So you think about the phone handset in the room, if you have one, and some phone calls outbound. Again, that phone system will be connected to the PMS through that API in the background. That will capture the calls you've made and add that charge to your bill. Same for the Wi-Fi, that personalized Wi-Fi experience. So issuing you a unique Wi-Fi key on check-in for maybe a more enhanced like network experience or stay experience. There's loads of other use cases and ideas, but ultimately what it means is that, data is flowing in and out through those API connections between systems, and it just delivers a more seamless experience for the guest and a much more seamless operational experience. Other cool examples that we've seen, you think so it's not always about the PMS. So you think about the CRM, and that's where you're building your guest profiling for your sales and marketing and your loyalty programs, etc. So we have some clients who have basically added a captive portal service to the Wi-Fi. So what that means is that when you connect to the Wi-Fi, you provide some basic details, including an email address. If you select certain marketing preferences, in the back end, the Wi-Fi system is sending that data via an API to the CRM, right? So that's adding to your first party kind of data and allowing you to be much more targeted in your approach. And then some clients have split that into multiple streams. So they might have leisure, conference and guest Wi-Fi networks advertised in the property. Each of those has a captive portal. And so now you can kind of segment or segregate that data inbound into the CRM and be much more, say, targeted then in your approach from there. So there are some practical examples. And again, it just comes down to being flexible.
I actually find those examples fantastic because I would have been a big fan of the CRM and how it allowed us to build a profile on the customer, their likes, their dislikes, etc., and then how we communicated with them, and build relationships, build loyalty, etc. And I think where hoteliers would often think, okay, where's my competitive advantage? What am I doing above my competitor down the road, right? we actually need to start looking at the strategic advantage with technology and how we can use technology to really enhance the operations, the guest experience, etc. And like, you know, if I was in a hotel tomorrow morning and
Mm.
I was setting up a brand new property, I need to take a look at, okay, what is going to work best for this particular property? You know, from an operational point of view, from a guest point of view, etc. Like, what are the main functions of the systems that I'm looking to put in place into this property? And then ultimately, what is my long-term vision when it comes to technology? And trying to really understand how is technology going to help me grow my business.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've spoken there about cloud-based solutions, APIs, etc. And if I've learned anything over the last number of years is, you know, many solutions will say, oh, we're best in class. You know, we're the best in the business. You're not going to find better.
Mm-hmm.
And I've no doubt, you know, that they're super at what they do. But with how quickly technology is evolving, I can't imagine there'll ever be that all-in-one solution when it comes to hospitality. Like, even if you look at the CRM, the customer relationship management system, like you have direct booking tools, website chatbots, social media, digital marketing, reputation
Yeah.
management, RFP systems, etc. Like, it's all in there.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were to talk about how important it is for a CRM system to integrate with PMS, it's like ultimately it's allowing you as a business to work smarter. And there is a strategic advantage with the use of technology.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
it's interesting because with this very subject came up with a hotelier on Wednesday, right? And we were having a chat, and uh, again, the whole ecosystem is obviously extensive, right? And um, we were talking about all of these different areas and how you basically make the best strategic decisions, right, for that business. And one of the ideas that she had, which was brilliant, was, you know, creating like a peer network of comparable businesses and almost having a mini networking group when it comes
yeah.
to your technology, right? So what that would allow you to do then is speak to other hoteliers who run a similar business and basically understand where they've invested, what's working and what's not working, because this is very hard to do on your own. When you look at the scale of that ecosystem, if you're a smaller operator or an independent, it's very difficult to have the right expertise in-house, right, to get this set up,
Mhm.
get everyone trained, understand
Yep.
what's going to give, like you need that strategic brain, you need the analytical brain. There's a lot going on there, and obviously the bigger groups do address that and have teams in these areas and specialists, and they're able to pull it all together. So for smaller operators and independents, you know, that idea of having a mini networking group and, you know, first of all, understand the whole ecosystem
Mhm.
and then get into, like, you know, what's working well in your businesses and not. I thought that was a really amazing idea. And I think that
Mhm.
this comes naturally to professionals in the hospitality industry. It's one of the most open and kind of network and community based
Mhm.
industries I have ever seen, you know,
Yeah.
and they're not afraid to share information. So this is just another area, but you have a specific focus on it, and you focus on the technology that you have in your business, and you share this insights with others, and, you know, drive better investment. So that was a really cool thing just come up this week.
I think that's a fantastic idea. When I worked in the industry, you would have had hoteliers coming together for meetings with regards to how you were going to market the region more effectively to drive business, and how you'd work together, you know, in support of one another with bed nights, etc. So I think to come together to discuss technology is a fantastic idea. Like, all
Mm,
that's going to do is help you transform how you're operating your business, you know.
yeah.
Um, and for others who've had similar problems, to learn from them, that's
Mm,
invaluable, absolutely
yeah.
invaluable. And if I heard actually earlier today that there's over 1,000 PMS systems across the globe. And
Wow.
that blew my mind, because I was like,
Yeah.
God, I think I know about 5 off the top of my head.
Mhm.
So if you have peers in the industry that are already working with providers that can provide you with insights into their own experience, like, that's allowing you to be in a position where you're more informed when you go to have a meeting with a particular supplier or provider. Um,
Absolutely.
and that's fantastic. I just think that's probably going to be one of my big takeaways now this week, is to even
Yeah.
suggest that when I'm in meetings with hoteliers. Have you thought about doing this locally? Because,
Mm.
it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's interesting you had that conversation,
Mhm.
because a topic that's coming up an awful lot for me at the moment is AI,
Yes.
and what that looks like, what people are supposed to do with AI. Like,
Yeah.
I'd say there's not a question now that I haven't heard, and we're not experts in AI.
Mhm.
Um, but you were the person who introduced me to AI. And we could say we were early adopters, but I only am an early adopter because you told me about it and you had me sign up to an incredible app,
Mhm.
that was a flat fee for the rest of time.
Yeah.
And now it's a lot more expensive to join.
Yeah.
But I'd love to get your insights and your thoughts around AI and what you've seen really, and how it's advancing in the world of hospitality and technology.
Yeah. Look, everyone is asking this question, right? And so I do like to bring it back to first principles, right? So if you think about what are we doing in IMS, first of all, right? We encourage every individual to use AI as a personal assistant, right? And that's where everyone should start, right? In your business, encourage all of your employees to use AI as a personal assistant. Again, during the week, I heard a really cool idea. So one of our clients has a monthly town hall, and they ask someone to present for 5 minutes on the best use case of AI in the last month, and the outcomes, the positive outcomes driven from that. And it was cool, like, as you're hearing these ideas, how did that person prompt, right? And what information did they initially get back, and how did they go deeper, etc. What was the output? How could they verify the information as well? Really important. But just that simple principle: use AI as a personal assistant for every individual on your team, right? After that, it's very hard for smaller operators and independents, in the same way it's very difficult for us as a company, right, to create a really big strategic advantage by building our own AI systems. That is extremely difficult, because you are competing in a space where your own suppliers are big software companies. They
Yeah.
have this expertise in house. They're investing lots and lots of money. They already have the machine power. They've already been doing like first generation AI before it was coined AI. So they're really advanced in their approach, right? So for me, I believe how you get ahead is you start finding the companies, your partners, who have they're very advanced on their AI journey,
Mhm.
and you partner with them more closely and learn how you leverage that more. There's huge potential in a revenue management framework that is built on an AI platform. That is absolutely, because like that could transform the financial performance of your business without having to change anything, you know? And
Mm.
we know that the OTAs are investing really heavily in this area. Booking.com is the highest valued actual company in the hospitality industry, which is crazy. They've got huge loyalty member programs, and as do the other big OTAs. And so, and on the CRM side, etc. Right. So you look for partners who are really advanced on that AI journey, and that will give you an advantage for sure. And that's how we do it internally in IMS. I think thinking about anything you can build yourselves, right? Nice to experiment with, and you might find some advantages in that area.
Mhm.
But the big movers are going to be the right partners who are advancing quickly, right? So that would be my very basic advice when it comes to AI for any, say, hospitality leader.
That's fascinating. And I'm going to take it back to the cloud-based system again.
Mm.
For me, it just even highlights further where you have your PMS now, uh, a cloud-based system. And if you look at one of the providers, they recently announced that they they have over 3,000 APIs that can integrate with their system, which is incredible. So, they're already being extremely proactive. They're looking at who they can work with, what APIs are needed to be developed, et cetera, and they're being very proactive rather than reactive. And where you highlight the importance there of the likes of a CRM or partners who are already investing in AI and what that can do for your business. Again, it's just showing how the ecosystem within the technology itself is working. And it is a minefield. It's an absolute minefield, but it's always evolving. So if you're working with those partners who are really investing in their technology, then ultimately you continue to invest in your own technology. And
something that struck me as well, just in that same conversation with that customer. They're an independent hotel, but like extremely experienced, very well connected in the industry. And the feedback is that like less than 10% of independents have a CRM system, right? And so often you hear a lot, like you see this idea of how do we basically regain some control against the larger OTAs, and it's almost like there's friction, or it's almost like us against them type mentality, right? And again, that's never a battle that you can win if you go directly against the problem. So the challenge is like, how do you think about this in a way that benefits your business, right? So the OTAs can drive footfall, and that's what they do into your business. The question is, as a hotelier, how do you then, when that person is in your property, right? How do you start getting first-party data from that person who's originally booked through the OTA? So what value are you giving that person to provide you with their data? If they do provide you with their data and you don't have a CRM, where are you putting that data? How are you using it? How are you using it to drive repeat business? Do you have a loyalty program, etc.? So these are the things to think about. Like, use the big powerhouses like the OTAs to get people into your building, right? Simple examples of how you can generate first-party data. Captive portal is a really good idea, because, as you say, you can get that email address. You are giving value in that transaction, so people are generally happy to provide that information. Other interesting idea that I was talking to a partner about recently is they have a digital guest application, so you can manage your stay end to end, right, from check-in to check-out. Really cool. But if someone books through the OTA, you still send the link to that person to join the digital guest journey. And on that link, they're asked for their own email address, right? And again, this is generating about 40%. It's getting back about 40% of those OTA bookings, those email addresses back into your business. And I'm sure with your experience in hospitality, you've tried things and they've been successful and otherwise. Do you want to share any stuff on that front?
Yeah, more than happy to. When I was in hospitality, OTAs were a significant percentage of the business. And a lot of the time it was corporate travelers. Now, some corporate companies have it in place that you have to use an OTA to book your accommodation. So that's a more difficult one to convert, right? But for the quicker wins, what worked very, very well was, it was almost like going back to basics. Somebody would come in and they would have booked their room through an OTA. The receptionist would have asked, now, I should say receptionists were incentivized as well, by the way, to do this, to capture the information that we needed to build the customer profile, right? So that might include the email address, their mobile phone number, what company they work for, etc. And they inputted that information into the PMS. It started to build a profile of the customer, but what the customer got in return was a loyalty system. And that loyalty system would have provided them with a discount of future bookings. It would have potentially provided them with a more enhanced experience as a result of booking direct, right? So what that did was you could build a profile of, well, this guest room their preference is this. Like I remember one time learning that one of our guests' preference was jelly and ice cream. He loved it. And it was something that we always made sure we had. And it's the simple little things that you can do to build a profile of your guest that can make all the difference. But it's winning that business you have to be strategic about. And it starts with your reception team asking those questions, incentivize them if you need to, but inputting the PMS or the data into the PMS, and then ultimately building a relationship with that customer where they will want to continue booking direct with the hotel all of the time, because you are up against extremely attractive loyalty programs when it comes to the
Yeah,
OTA. So it's to get that direct booking. It takes work. It's not you're not going to win every one of them, but the success stories have been where you're offering services that are just enhancing the guest experience that bit more.
very good. Yeah, it's a brilliant. It's some really useful examples to get first party data and then drive your repeat bookings directly. So, Helena, we've covered a fair bit now in that, and
Yeah.
hopefully we've given people a good level of awareness of the whole extent of the ecosystem, but then some insight into how to start driving more value from that ecosystem. So,
Yeah.
3 key takeaways. Where would you start?
No, I'm actually going to ask you this week to give the first
Mm.
key takeaway.
Yeah, so the first one for me is fundamentally, work with partners who deliver cloud-based platforms and have an open API,
That's
particularly when we talk about PMS.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. That's an excellent first key takeaway. For me, look at your strategic advantage with technology, regardless of whether you're an independent property, a small hotel group, or a large hotel group. Look at your strategic advantage, discover what works best for your operation, what are the fundamental needs of the business. So, what are the main functions that these systems are going to have to meet those needs, and reach out to your peers in the industry and ask them what they have used or what they have worked with that has worked well and effectively to meet those needs. And I think that suggestion from the person you met with earlier in the week about setting up a forum with hoteliers to discuss technology, I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, super. Last one from me, I think the AI piece is super important because everyone's talking about AI. The quickest way to get an AI advantage is to work with partners who are advancing on that journey quickly and get on that journey as soon as you can, as opposed to thinking about how do you build AI in-house. Use AI internally as a personal assistant and build that culture within your team that everyone is using AI for that purpose. But in terms of getting ahead, find partners who are already ahead and moving quickly on that journey, and that will definitely give you a competitive advantage.
Excellent. I feel like AI and the presentation of what worked best for each individual over the last month will become part of our all hands in the future.
No, it's a great idea. You've heard it here first, right? So,
Yeah, it's
our
brilliant.
team listen, they're going to hear about it first too before we have our next all hands. But um, yeah, look, I loved today's session. I think that it's very actually researching for this and kind of compiling your information is very educational for us as well individually. So,
Mm.
yeah, again, huge empathy for decision makers when it comes to hospitality technology. We're here to help to simplify things as much as we can. Next week, we're going to do a deep dive into Wi-Fi and how you can generate a greater return for your business by working with the right partners, applying the right principles, etc. So we're looking forward to that. And yeah, that's everything, Helena, I believe.
Absolutely. No, I'm looking forward to next week's topic now. That's going to be a very interesting one. But thank you so much for today, Denis. I really enjoyed it. And thanks to all our listeners for listening.
Yeah, thank you. See you next week.